Hello people! Sorry I haven't been making any new videos lately. I've been having some technical difficulties with my computer. Finally I was able to fix it, and hopefully that'll be that. So I'm here very late to talk about Wonder Woman. And it's been so long since the movie's been out already that I've seen it 3 times. But I just really wanted to do a review because I love this movie. This movie was fantastic. So I hadn't seen all the trailers for this movie. I only saw, I think, the Comic-Con and the first one. I'm not a big fan of watching all the trailers because sometimes they'll give away a lot of action and a lot of the great scenes on the trailer to get you hooked. So I avoided the trailers. And I was already hyped for this movie, but because we've been disappointed in the past with some of these DCU movies, I was like, maybe I don't want to hype myself up too much this time. And I was starting to get really hyped because I'm not a hater of the DCU like some people. I really enjoyed Man of Steel. Batman versus Superman, that was not without its problems. And it had terrible problems, but there was enough in it to keep me entertained. And one of the things that I loved about Batman versus Superman was Wonder Woman. I was one of the naysayers, when they first announced Gal Gadot. I wasn't like, I hate this woman, or anything like that. I was just like, really? All right then. And then BVS came out, and she was, to me, one of the greatest things in BVS. So I was excited for the movie. I was really excited, and I had to de-excite myself. When the movie started with, the whole Themyscira thing, I thought that was great. I loved Themyscira. I loved the training sequence. That was something that I don't think I've ever seen in a movie. All those women training like that, and those moves, it just felt different to me. I don't know. And I was really excited to see that because that was new, and I love new. So then we have, it's been talked about how Diana is a great mix of both her mom and her aunt, and we can really see that. And after I saw the movie the 3rd time, I came home and watched BVS again, and something stood out for me. It was funny because during the battle sequence on the beach, which was amazing, we see Antiope smirking when she's riding, towards the enemy. It's like, oh, we're going to fight. Oh, yeah. And like she's enjoying that. And then on BVS, Diana had just been punched by Doomsday, and she just goes and like she's enjoying it. And I thought it was a really cool touch to have her be like her aunt in that sense. And I love how her mom is like all a pacifist, like, I don't want my daughter trained in this. And then when it's time to fight, like, bitch can fight. It's like spinning out of the horse like that, like, that was amazing. Oh my God, that scene was incredible. The whole, like, I wouldn't change a thing about Themyscira. Actually, I wouldn't change a thing about most of the movie. It was so good. So I loved when they were, the whole thing with Steve, the Amazons not trusting him, and then Diana, wanting to, it's like so curious because she's the only one who hasn't lived that situation, the war situation. She's curious. She's the only one who's been shielded from the outside world. And so she's curious. And then you have Steve. Oh, Chris Pine. He was so good. And here's what I enjoyed about the movie, which made it very different from all the other DC movies. The comedy was so organic. It wasn't a bunch of one-liners. Not to diss Marvel, because I know they do that a lot, but I love Marvel, don't get me wrong. I'm one of those, they're like, the more superhero movies, the better. Doesn't matter which company. Like, give me DC, give me Marvel, I want them all. But it was a different kind of comedy, and I thought that was great, especially in the DCU, which we haven't seen that before. And it was just so refreshing, so much fun. It gave levity where we needed it, and then they didn't get heavy on it when we needed dramatic scenes, or it was just such perfect timing. And the whole fish out of water thing, of Diana, was like, it reminded me of Enchanted, if you've seen that movie with Amy Adams, where she's the princess that comes out of the cartoon into New York. It's like, oh my God, this is amazing. But it was just so natural, so perfect. Gal Gadot is so charming, and she's beautiful, but in a non-threatening way to other women, because she's so adorable and charming that you either, I guess, want to date her or be her friend. So whatever your preference, you want to be around Diana. And that is really hard on with a character like that. It's like where you're not intimidated by her, because she's so beautiful, so powerful, and you're like, oh my God, this woman is amazing. And what I think is great about Diana is, I think she's what they refer to as post-feminist. Like she has no idea about gender roles. She just doesn't even understand. It's not part of her understanding. It's like, why doesn't she have the same rights as all these men? So that's what I think is great about the movie. The movie is not trying to be feminist. It's just, she transcends that. And then, but because she is put in a situation where women aren't that, valued in that sense, and during that time, it was just interesting because she's just so oblivious to the fact that happens. It was great. And it gave the opportunity to have many different interesting moments. And in my screening, when she went in talking to all the men, it's like, you hide behind, what was it called? What was it? You hide in your offices, in your generals, and you should be with your men, or something like that. People actually applauded, because like, she doesn't understand that she can't say that because she's a woman. Because she's like, well, she's not a human, but she thinks she is. So she's like, why is your life more valuable than the soldiers? And that was beautiful. That was so relevant to today. It was so important. And it got a clap in my screening. And that was the first moment I was in awe. The second moment that I actually got chills, and I don't get those very often in movies, was the trench scene. And because I haven't seen all the trailers, and I only saw a little of it, I don't know, I think I only saw once each trailer, or each of the two trailers I only saw them once. I didn't know, I didn't think she was in no man's land. I didn't realize where she was. It was just like, oh, she's in a forest. Or a battlefield, whatever. I didn't make the connection. I didn't think about it too much. So when we have the reveal, which was a great time to have a reveal of her outfit, she goes up and just, that amazing scene happens. Just, the slow-mo, she's going out. It's like, oh shit, she's coming, and she's going to take everybody out, and she took everybody out. And then, wow, what a great way to go into the town. And then she's just killing all the bad guys in the town, and the guy in the tower is like, shield, and Diana goes and just destroys the church. Okay, I need to calm down. Let's make coherent sentences. Okay, so when she gets into the town, that was also really cool, because we have, first of all, what stood out among the many things was that Charlie, with his PTSD, like, he was unable to shoot. And what I thought was great was he didn't get a redemption later. It's like, oh, but he shot another person when it was really important. It didn't matter. And I thought that was so important. That movie is so representative of so many types of people. It's not just about race or anything. Well, there is, the guy who wanted to be the actor, Samir. He wanted to be an actor, but, he's born the wrong color. And then you have the chief. And I thought that was great. And then you have Charlie with PTSD, and I'm sure a lot of people see themselves represented. And then if he had redemption, so much pressure would be put on people with PTSD. It's like, oh, but don't worry, you're going to overcome whatever it is you're feeling eventually, and you'll be able to live your life like you used to again. That's not how it works. So I thought that was a brilliant, very sensitive touch. But, oh my God, the shield thing. When it's like, I love that they're assuming we're paying attention. They didn't need to show us in a flashback of something that happened in the beginning of the movie. Shield. It's like they know we're paying attention. They don't think we're dumb. We understand what that means, and it's so cool because Steve was watching and he's not dumb, and it's like, it's just, the movie assumes we're all smart enough to keep up, and she knew exactly what he meant, and she just went for that, and then she goes and she just destroys the entire tower, and then was like, well, we didn't need to see him being taken out. It's like the entire church fell on him, and she comes out. That was awesome. Oh, that was such a great moment. Something else that was a little bit before that, we saw the horrors of war. I thought it was very important too, because Diana is such an innocent person, and she's like, oh, okay, we have the war. I need to find Ares. And then she actually sees the horrors of war with all those people coming back, you know. Remember when they're in the bridge and like one guy doesn't have a hand anymore and is in a wheelchair, like all these people like looking awful and traumatized. And then again, when they're going towards no man's land, the trenches actually, she sees like all this confusion of people trying to run away, and they can't, and the desperation. She wants to help them, and you can't help them all. And she's just like, she's so lost. It's like, how can I not help everybody? So it was a very interesting point of view when you have Diana, who never was shielded from all of that, and then when she gets thrown into this absurd reality, it was just a great shock. And it was also great because they've been saying no, Diana, the entire movie. It's like, no, don't do this. Oh, put down your sword. Oh, put down your shield. You can't talk to the man. You can't come in here. You can't wear that. You can't do this. You can't do that. We can't go into no man's land. And they're just like, okay, enough. I'm going to go into this battlefield. You can't stop me, and whatever. And she does that again in the ball at the ball with Ludendorff when she wants to kill him. And then Steve stops her and he says, you can't do that. I'm not going to let you do that. And he's like, what I do is not up to you. It's so great. It's just like, she just has no clue that, you know, in theory, in a time like that, if she was a woman from that time, maybe a woman would have been intimidated by a guy saying that I can't let you do this. Like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, bitch, and you just shut the hell up because I'm so much better than you. And she just goes away. And then something else I noticed, sorry, this is all I'm going back and forth, but something I've noticed after watching it 3 times was interesting how when they're in the small town after, you know, they took out all the Germans in the small town, Vald, if I remember correctly. And Steve's on the phone with Etta and talking to her, like, oh, this is where we are, blah, blah, blah. And then Sir Patrick comes to the phone and says, no, you can't do that. You got it? And then next to Steve, you have Diana saying, oh my God, Ludendorff is Ares. I need to go where Ludendorff is. So that's how our Ares knows where Diana is. She's gonna be where Ludendorff is, and it's just a little small touch. But you know, he's a god. I guess we could assume like he knows where she is. But that was a small touch. Like, oh, if with the nitpickers, they could just, oh, how did she know? That's how. Something that I thought was interesting, how they used the 3 people, the 3 sidekicks that they had in their battalion. In that moment, they're riding the horses. And through the forest, Steve is telling the other guys how he met Diana, and Samir is like, huh, well, that's insane, but I kind of can see that because this woman's like unbelievable. She can't be real. She can't be from here. And then you have the cynical guy, you know, the PTSD guy who's suffered a lot, obviously. He's more cynical. So he's like, that can't be true. And then you have the chief, you know, who's Native American, and it could just be he could just be there for representation, but the choice was great because they chose a culture that believes in other gods. So it was very well placed. It wasn't out of nowhere. I was like, oh, let's just put a Native American here. And also, that also came to play later when it's like, how is she going to fight Ludendorff? He's going to be the one doing smoke signals, which is a very Native, Indian in general thing to do. Not just Native American, but, you know, Native Indian. Anyway, so before I get to the final scene with the villains, I'd like to talk a little bit about the villains. At first, I wasn't a fan of them, of any of the three, but now that I've seen the movie again, I liked them even more. And I really appreciated the comic book key types of touches that were laid out throughout the movie. Like the mask was great with Dr. Poison. They weren't that developed, but I guess the two Dr. Poison and Ludendorff weren't the ones we needed to follow anyway. We wanted Ares, and that I'll save Ares for later. But those two, they were so comic booky. It was great. She was comic booky in the visual sense. And then she came with that line when she finally came up with the right formula. It's like something like, oh yeah, that would be truly terrible. I could almost see the mwahahaha, you know, laugh. I thought that was a great touch. And the other one was when they actually threw the gas bomb in that room, and Ludendorff throws the mask, and then they close the doors like, but the mask won't help me. Like, they don't know that. That was such a comic moment, a comic book moment. I thought it was great. Now, about Ares, that reveal to me was not that impressive because it's like nothing about it suggested he was going to be Ares. Nothing. It was like completely out of nowhere. It didn't take away from the movie. To me, it's just, I've seen some people like, oh, I thought that was lame. It was like, it didn't. It was just, I thought it could have been done differently, but it doesn't matter, especially because Diana has been talking about finding Ares from the beginning. So that's who we wanted to see. Not Ludendorff, not Poison, not any of these people. We wanted to see Ares. And that's who we've been building towards the entire movie. Because Diana was so well developed and the story was so well developed and everything was built in a way that we were so invested that the stakes felt really high when they were battling. Oh, speaking of stakes being high, I'd like to give props to something that to me was very effective in this movie and it failed in others. Like if you've seen X-Men Apocalypse, like Apocalypse is like ending the world and you just don't care because it's like, oh, just another, bad guy trying to end the world. And in this one, all they do is destroy a tiny village and they kill all those people. But we don't know each person, but we spent enough time in that village to care. And that to me felt so horrible. Diana was so heartbroken and it built, and all those little things were building inside of her. It's like, oh, no, I need to find Ares. And then she sees that Steve is also like contaminated by Ares. And she's like, it's all of mankind. And I'm going to save all of you. I'm going to kill Ares. And then she kills Ludendorff. And her face, when she sees nothing stopped, and she comes to the conclusion that she doesn't want to accept that it's mankind that's the problem. She's just so heartbroken, and I really felt for her. That was amazing acting by Gal Gadot. And that scene was also so great because it was a bit of a role reversal. And I get it that Poison had to give him those little things that he would and go crazy because Diana was easily taking out people. She would easily take out that guy if he wasn't given something extra to actually be able to stand up against her. And to make her continue to believe he is Ares, in fact. But then when he goes up to the roof and she's below, and it's a bit of a role reversal because it's usually the good guy that's scared of the bad guy. And in this case, it's the bad guy scared of the good girl. And it was so interesting to see that dynamic, role reversal. But then we get the actual reveal of Ares. And, you know, and the reveal that we saw that coming. She's the god killer, it's not the sword. But then that, you know, just it goes on, and then you have this big CGI fight. That reminded me of Doomsday a bit. I was like, okay, but that meant that fight was very emotionally charged for Diana. There was a lot at stake for her. And so you really want her, you're like, oh my gosh, she needs to take that guy down. It's not like, you know. And then when she's about, you know, to sort of not give up, but she's like trapped and she doesn't know what else she's going to do. And then Steve kills himself for everybody else. She just goes ballistic. She's just like killing people left and right. It's like, you're all going to die. I don't care if you're a good guy, you're a bad guy, you're all bad guys. And Harry's like, yeah, go Diana. And then eventually when she stops, she's like, and well, I get it. People were saying, why didn't she kill Maru? She was killing everybody else. Well, that was symbolic. She was the bad guy. She was one of the people, well, it was her fault Steve was dead because she was the one who made the bombs, you know, in theory. So it's symbolic that Diana didn't kill her. She chose to spare her to say, look, that's not how it's done. It doesn't matter what she did or didn't do. All of them are the same. They're all good and bad. There is light inside all of them. And that's worth saving for me. And that's when she changes her mind. And it just goes super powerful goddess. And I'm like, yeah! And this was actually the first time, I don't know if it's the representation thing, but this is actually the first time that I walked out of a movie theater thinking, oh my God, I'm going to join a gym and do martial arts. And then I went home and had pizza. But the point is, I came out so excited. And I think maybe that's what they talk about in representation. When you see yourself, of course, I'm so not Wonder Woman. But it's like, this is what a woman can do. Maybe I could do it too. Maybe a little girl is going to think that she can do that too. Or, well, not that, but, you know, be powerful and be taken seriously because she is amazing. She can be amazing. And above all of that, it is a message of hope and love. Because that's all Wonder Woman's about. And even though I don't remember her being like that from the Justice League cartoons, I don't read Justice League as often as I do Marvel. Well, not even Marvel, just X-Men and Fantastic Four, but that's another. Anyway. But so I didn't remember Diana being that kind of naive, hopeful, full of love character, because what I had in my mind stand out was the cartoon character. And then I recently read Rebirth. And that series was so good, and that's exactly what Diana is. And I was so happy. I don't know. She just makes me happy and hopeful and joyous, and that's what this movie did for me. Even though it was sad and I cried, it was a message of hope and love.